Awesome. Welcome to the See the Good podcast. I'm your host, Mark Clark, and it's a podcast just about some positive things happening in eye care and a little bit of nonsense thrown in from time to time. So
Mhm.
today I'd like to welcome our guest, Karen Michaelson, who has been around the industry for a while. I won't add years to that, Karen. I'll leave that up to you. So,
Okay.
but I would say a staple in our industry, and it's always interesting. Every time I have one of these podcasts, I've been lurking around on social media forever. All of us have. We don't always meet in person, and finally, Karen and I met at Vision Expo West, which is the last official Vision Expo West. It may return to Vegas from time to time, but that was the last official. So hope you didn't miss that. And so first, I'm just going to kick it over to you. Tell us, tell our listeners, people who maybe like me just have been lurking around on the internet and we kind of know each other, but don't all know each other. Give us a little background of your career in eye care and how you got started, and then let us know what you're up to today.
So thanks for having me, Mark. Yes, that's funny that you say lurking around because you'd pop up all the time and I'd see that I'd see you and we just never met. And meeting you at the Caroling booth was really, really cool. And my history in the industry goes a long ways back. And I will say, I always start with a little math problem nowadays when I'm teaching and sharing because I think it just is kind of funny because people always say to me when I say how long I've been in the industry, people will say, "Oh, you must have been in the business since you were 15." And this year I can actually say that. So if I tell you that I've been in the business for 46 years, how old am I?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Don't
So
don't
that 15 plus 46, I have no problem, 61.
yeah.
And it's not the age part, but it's just finally that kind of came to me where, yeah, I have been in the business since I was 15. So I followed in my father's footsteps. He was a dispensing optician till he was 93, and he's now
Amazing.
99. And the only reason he left is because he was in a car accident, suffered a traumatic brain injury, and pretty much went to, I would say, mid-stage dementia symptoms immediately. And we
Wow.
never got him back. So there's been a bit of a mission since that time in my career to make some changes and make some impact there. So, but we'll talk about that. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and and that was one of my next questions was, was it a family thing? Usually if you get in it at 15 years old, it's kind of a family business.
Mhm.
And I saw your post the other day about your dad's billboard. I thought that was really really kind of neat to pass that and to be able to see that and have that, eye care legacy. I guess I would say I'm a first generation optical person in my family, um, other than a distant cousin who was an optometrist before me, coincidentally gave me my first eye exam, and then later on, when I owned an office, became one of my staff optometrists. So it's kind of interesting how things come full circle and in a cycle in our industry. And
For sure.
one of the things I always tell people all the time is it's Hotel California. You can check out whenever you want. You can just never leave.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's because and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I think there's what we sell and what we do is there's so much to it. You know,
So
we've
much.
acquired all of this as we've gone on and you started with a math problem and optical math is its own math. I mean, we have insurance plans where this is covered except when it's not, and then add 20% and subtract this, and then divide by this, and then there's so much to accumulate that that I think it's so hard to just jump in and grab everything that just the average optician in our industry has grabbed in their career. And
So much.
um, yeah, and there's no book, there's no manual, there's no guide. I mean, you can learn optics, you can learn business, you can, but when you combine it all together, it's a very, very unique industry that we've both fallen into or you were born into. in a way, probably
Yeah,
carried around in a lab tray, maybe. Um, and
probably.
that's,
Possibly. Yeah, I don't know about that one, but probably, maybe. Yeah.
yeah. So kind of probably since birth almost, but it is a very unique industry, and it's also so tight knit. I mean, because of that, because we get in it and we stay in it so long, we build these relationships that I think are um, one of the best parts of it. You go to an expo, you go somewhere, and I don't have any family necessarily in this business like you do, but it is a family.
Yes.
And every time I go to a show or I go to something, it's coming back home. It's a reunion. I get to meet people, and reconnect with people that I've known my whole career, and I think that's one of the amazing parts of it. So what you mentioned a little bit about your father's dementia, and some of that, and tell me how that's affected what you're doing now and some of your focus right now.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I just a couple words to what you said. You say, they say you can't take you can move from the South, but you can't take the South out of the girl. It's kind of like that. I say it's a boomerang industry. So the same thing where you can try to get out, but you're going to come back in. And, for me, I charted a course pretty early in my career because I started so early, and I saw people graduating college, and I'm like, I've been doing this for 5 years already, and if I'm going to continue on in this industry, I have to do something to make sure that I move myself forward. And so, uh, connecting the dots kind of became this. It launched me. It was from the Optical Women's Association. I did a keynote many, many years ago, and that was the name of it. And it was basically about I'd been in the industry for maybe 25 years at that point, and I had to connect the dots looking back. Thank you to uh, uh, our Apple guy. I just lost his name. Speaking of
Tim,
not remember, yeah.
Tim Cook
Uh,
or the other Apple
no,
guy?
the original
Oh,
Apple man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that was one of his things, that one of his college commencements is that you have to look back to really see, kind of look forward, because you can't plan the future. So I really did that. And I've been so blessed to work in so many different areas of the industry. I really tried to hit every facet. I also have an interesting fact that's not a fun fact, but I've had 15 eye
Wow.
surgeries and procedures myself. So I've lived through a lot when it comes to being able to help patients. And my forest through the trees is always the patient, and always that end point, that end user, the person that I'm going to affect that in that moment. So the where I'm at now in my rewiring, not retiring career, because I'm really done with all the corporate, and I've just decided that, what is my passion? What are the things that I really want to do? And one of it is elder vision care. And I feel it and I see it every day that we just don't know how to take care of our elders very well when it comes to vision care. When they're moved into a community or something, how do we provide care for them? It's really tough. But when you move into the dementia space, as I have, I do a dementia awareness training, and it's not medical, it's none of that, because if you've met one dementia patient, you've met one dementia patient. And if you've had one situation with a person, you're going to have a different one with another. I mean, there's no two things the same. And so I've really tried to mine and craft ways to be able to share with people how to communicate. And I still am doing that every day with my dad. Some days it's so joyful, and some days it just rips my heart out. But really, the vision care, the vision and dementia symptoms, people think it's a disease. It's not. It's an umbrella of symptoms. They go together. And we have such an important role in being part of our patients' health care, and we really need to look at that. So my goal, my mission right now is to create I'm in the process of creating a program that would, let's just say, I know this is going to go to masses, and who listens to it, but create a certification program that your practice is elder vision aware. And
Right.
so I know that I can bring my mom or dad to you because you're going to create an environment that's going to be comfortable, kind of like a PEDS practice or a neuro. It's
Right.
special, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really important because, uh, we're not doing it. And there's so many things that we're finding linked between waiting on cataract surgery and what's going into the brain, because we know we don't see with our eyes, right? And the
Yeah.
longer we wait, the less we're getting. So it's big, and it's biting off those little chunks that I'm trying to do and figure out where the best path is.
Yeah, it's something that uh, has been a thought of mine here somewhat more recently because I got really interested in sports vision and not the typical kind of approach of sports vision, but really looking at, what are the negative effects for somebody who is a really good athlete in in just a base curve change or we do things all the time and we say things all the time like, oh, get this wrapped pair of sunglasses to wear when you're out there, but we may be, really harming their game and their perception. And as I dug into that, I learned how much the brain stores in files previous information about shape, size, color, contrast, and then it refers to that to finish making an image and do all the calculations and tell you how fast something's moving, how far away it is. And there's actually a study going on at Johns Hopkins with one of the PhD students um, about eyesight and dementia and some of these things. And that was one of the things I brought up to him as he, got into his study was how much mathematically information we store. And when you think about how, the way I think about it is um, with that dementia patient and what I've just witnessed in my life is, you know, files are getting now out of order, you know, and they may recall something that um, was 20 years ago, like it just happened 5 minutes ago, and they're losing little bits here and there, and one of the things that I was talking about with him was just the fall risk from losing that size, speed, data that is stored over time in our brains. And then I didn't, what you had just opened my eyes to was, oh my gosh, if they're waiting on cataract surgery, potentially months of data uh, of size, contrast, speed is not being recorded. We know that there's other,
Years.
yeah, yeah,
Because we're I mean, right, there's a lot more elective cataract surgery being done. But what if you think about it, the insurance is what really tells you you can have cataract surgery now, right? Because of the cost. That's one of the things. And if we think about, as I mentioned, my 15 eye surgeries, my first cataract surgery was when I was 38.
oh
And
wow,
at that, yeah, very early. That's a whole nother podcast, but it's an interesting journey. But when you think about how that cataract forms and what's not getting through to the brain, you lose depth perception, contrast sensitivity, all of that. Well, now you fast forward it, and we're looking at, I'll just use my dad as an example. He's a very low power, he's a -1 250 ad. Well, my dad is a fall risk, so
yeah,
he doesn't really need his glasses for distance anymore. He doesn't read. So if he's not wearing them, I'm okay with that. It's actually
right,
reduced his falls. And so when I look at, people and I think, okay, I've got Harvey who's bouncing off the wall, who's a -8. He broke his glasses, flushed him down the toilet. literally true story. And they call me because they know I'm in eye care and I can't get the prescription because it's 5 years ago. Those are the things that I'm talking about. How do we make
Yeah,
it readily available? Because I can get glasses all day long for Harvey, but I got to get to Mark's office for somebody to release that very expired prescription. So just even the small step of making sure that when, you know, people are they have that last prescription because we can take care of your glasses, and at least I could analyze and say Harvey needs them, Joe doesn't, right?
yeah,
And from uh, you mentioned the files. So I use two analogies. I use a brick of cheese, which you may have heard if you listen to anything on dementia symptoms. Your brain is like a brick of cheese, and then there's this little dirty rat in there taking bites of it. And it really depends on where they are hitting, if they're going to hit that hole. Or you have this big beautiful bookshelf behind you and somebody starts taking books off it, and
right.
it's like you go to recall and it's not there. And so one of the things I just tell people is they're going to ask you the same question 20 times, and to reduce your stress level, give them the same answer 20 times, because it's not going to change. You can't rationalize like you can with the child, because the child will
Yeah,
eventually learn this isn't happening anymore. And so one of the things that you mentioned about what the recall is, it's been really interesting with my father. I set up his room chronologically from birth to the end of his career. And I did it so he could tell stories about when people visited him. But what it's become for me and for our family and just for him is to really realize the progression of the dementia symptoms and what's going on and what he cannot recall anymore. He's been
yeah.
a season ticket holder for the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, really hard to say that today, for
Ha,
63 years, and one of the biggest fans. And that's another whole billboard thing. But he doesn't remember that. And that just breaks my heart because I went to games with him time after time.
oh
And
yeah,
it's so, but the vision is a really huge part. And we just need to figure out ways to do it better in our practice.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think, step one, which hopefully we can accomplish together, and through talking about these things is, just some of that awareness,
awareness.
and so you've got a gatekeeper at every office, and I think you were in the corporate world. I think you've done some B2B sales and things
For
like
sure.
that, and that gatekeeper, they have to have that training too, they answer the phone and they've got a list of things on their desk, and one of those things now is somebody calling about a 5-year-old script, and that's the easiest one to get off their desk. Sorry, no, click, you know,
Right.
and just some awareness of, there is a need there, and you know what is that potential impact and effect, and so that we just all kind of begin to get some awareness around even just that simple thing of, hey, we might need to renew a script for somebody who's never going to make it in here, or
Right.
if they do, it's going to be a very hard journey, and that journey, just the journey itself
It's
can,
not worth it. You can do it in many cases. And
yeah,
so that's really the part of it, and understanding it. But the awareness, it's for everybody. I mean, I the dementia awareness training that I do, it's for everybody. It's anybody. I've trained firefighters. I've trained, chamber of commerce meetings. It's just about certain things that you see. But when it comes to vision care and healthcare, even the communities that these loved ones are in, you can tell those that have had some training in dementia awareness. We just
yeah,
assume they have it. They know how to transfer a patient into, the exam chair safely, but it's articulating that and how you
yeah,
do that, and it's quite the craft. But that's where that passion comes in, and
yeah,
it's so important because you look at our demographics in the US, we're sitting in an upside down triangle. And I'm not sure exactly where you are in that age group, but I know you're younger than me. But I'm up here, and
there's
I'm being a little selfish. A little selfish. I want somebody to be able to take good care of me when I get a little bit older. So, yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I've through my life, spent a lot of time in nursing homes, just through outreach programs with ones that I headed up through my church and different things like that. And so I think that's one of the things that always sticks out to me when I'm there is I'm going to be here, and how do I want to be treated when I'm here?
Yep.
And what visitors do I want? And um, I know that they always give me more than I can give them when I go and when I just sit down and they will tell me stories forever, and those
Mhm.
stories are amazing. And I get to keep those stories that I've gotten from them about their life or whatever moment of flashback that they're reliving or telling at that moment is a part of them that they're, handing over to me. And there's a lot of value to that. And so I try to be a good listener, and because it blesses me as well. But
Yeah.
one thing that I wanted to just touch back on when you were talking about, moving them and different things like that and how hard it is, I wondered if you'd experienced, hard days. From what I have learned, hard days often cause like setbacks that don't fully always recover in the dementia patient. Do you find that's true as well? That it's hard to get back on track from a difficult day?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And my dad is this journey started on December 31st, 2019. So it was right before COVID.
Oh,
So we're
wow.
coming up on 5 years. And physically my father is fine. He has no health ailments. So it's actually a double-edged sword, right? And so watching this progression, we determined that it's not worth bringing him home for Christmas, or we go to him. And
Yeah,
when he's tired, you have to read the signs. And I think the biggest thing is that just being in their moment. And when
yeah,
I walk in now, I mean, every 20th word I might understand. I don't care that he doesn't know who I am. I don't care that he doesn't know that I'm his daughter. I simply live in his moment, in his presence, because that's all that matters. And if I could if I could scream that from the mountaintop, no matter who is listening, all they want, and to your very last breath and my very last breath, Mark, what's going to happen? You might lose everything else. We're reduced to a small box of my dad's belongings in the house here. But to the very last breath that we take, what you have left is feeling. And
yeah,
so, no matter what it is, it's all about feeling. If you come in all stressed out, or you come in and, he senses when I'm crying, like he'll just do this to me. And my husband will say, okay, like I'll have those moments, but not many. But, uh, yes. And I think we have to really realize it's just like anything with a child. Let me ask you this. How many times have you had a child in your office that, you know what? I'm sorry, but their time is up. Being in an optometrist office for 3.5 hours for a 3-year-old, that child is not being unruly. Their timer's done. We need to
yeah,
remove, they need to go home. So it's the
yeah,
same thing. And it's just, I think because a lot of times they look the same, uh, we expect out of them the same. So
yeah,
it's not them. It's us.
yeah,
And that's what makes it really magical, and why I actually dug into it, because I was hoping to be able to bring my family into the fold with me a little bit more and find those joyful moments. And
yeah,
because it's very hard, they don't want to visit. And that's
yeah,
my family's not the only one, right?
yeah,
So, and when they come into the office, I see people putting a 75, 80-year-old, even if they are not diagnosed with anything memory wise, they're bringing them in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're all toast at 4 o'clock. Can you imagine a 75, 80-year-old
oh,
coming
yeah,
in for a full exam? But it's the end of the day, and we know we're going to take extra time with her. So there's steps, there's things that we can do, and make sure that we're not causing those things that you're talking about, those episodes that set them back. Each
right.
fall, each trip sets them back.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, and there's a few organizations going out. Mobile care is getting a little more um, prevalent as a model. I knew one that specifically was going to assisted livings and things like that, and really trying to tailor their care to that model, realizing, the difficulties and the extra care that may be involved, not just from a physical logistic standpoint, but just all around. And for everybody that has a family member like you involved in their care, there's a lot of people there that don't have anybody involved. And it may just be the staff of that local nursing home saying, I don't know, maybe Joe would do better with his glasses fixed. I don't know, and so there's a need there, um, you know, both from the perspective of what we do in our offices and perhaps at times some outreach to some of those care facilities around us and just saying, hey, we're here, we'd love to help in some way, if there's a need there or somebody doesn't have their glasses or something, and you think they might be safer with them,
Mhm.
um, and
Well,
certainly,
a lot of those communities, Mark, I call it top-down living because the top floor, I mean, you can drive anywhere and you can see these buildings up. You know what they are. You see them, they're 3 stories. The top level is independent, 55 and over. So clearly I've hit that level where I could live there. And those are, really a great safe environments for people that maybe their spouse died and they want to have their own residence, but yet they want to have a safe environment. They can have a car, a pet, whatever. And then they have to move maybe into assisted living, in
yeah,
couples and apartments. And then there's what they call memory care, which is not necessarily what it's all about, but
right,
that's that wing, right? But it's
yeah,
still called a care community. Of course, there's nursing homes traditionally as we know them, and that's where I first started with my dad. Really was going in on Saturdays to the nursing homes, which I'm surprised it didn't scare me out of the business because it was hard as a
yeah,
young kid. But so even looking at those levels, it's from top to bottom, third floor to first floor, it's completely different. And
yeah,
so that's where it's really, uh, I think that's the sticking point. And so anybody listening, you can reach out to me, reach out to Mark, and how do we help those? How do we help all of those folks in a way? Even just a little bit better. And in the memory care, I'll just use it's not necessarily, um, if there's something that's detected, like a detached retina, we're not doing surgery on my dad.
yeah,
That's not happening. But if you walk in and see 20 people and 2 of them are wearing eyewear, there's something wrong, right?
right,
But what you don't know is how many is it truly affecting. They're not
yeah,
moving around just because their glasses aren't in. Their
yeah,
hearing aids aren't in because they flushed them down the toilet. I mean, there are major, major sensory issues,
yeah,
and things that we're facing when we get to that point. And we just go, well, I can't keep buying hearing aids for $5,000, and then you start playing with them, and he doesn't want to wear them, and they lose them, and so it's almost like you feel like you're giving up on certain things.
yeah,
So those are the things that you have to be able to work through and give them the most, uh, really make the most of the senses that they have. And again, at that point, when it gets to be that far, it's really feelings
yeah,
you know but I believe we can affect in a positive way by catching these things earlier and putting those questions on our questionnaires and having those little tests. My son uses, he's a personal trainer and they have a gym and they do some 55 and over. I told him to raise that age, but he uses blaze. You probably heard of them, blaze pods, and
yeah,
they're they're the lights, and they're great. And he uses them for his athletes, plus he uses them for his elderly patients. And while they're very different, they're very much stimulating and helpful. So there's just, things that we can do.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and you talked about, that pyramid and how many people are in each group. And I've been in eye care long enough to remember when all the lens companies were telling us, you better get ready because baby boomers are going to be in progressives. And now we're at a point where, the top end of those baby boomers are going to be in assisted, some type of assisted situation, a lot of them. So,
for sure.
um, it's another thing to think about from a care perspective, and how to deliver that, and continue to try to, keep some continuity of care for their eyes as things go forward. So it's
Well,
a
and yeah, sorry to interrupt, but that can, um, the care that we give changes, right?
right,
We've got children, we've got, it just changes from patient to patient. And again, just the awareness of the change and helping identify in the practices who's that right person to take care of the peds. I'm okay
right,
with them for a bit of time, but my child button's kind of, I don't know where it went, but I don't have it anymore. It's I'm a grandma, but I don't have the little ones. But when it
right,
goes to, you've got to have the right people taking care of the right age group. And
yeah,
so that's really my hope. And that we can bring that to as many practices as possible.
yeah,
It's a big bite. It's a big bite, but it definitely is something that we're dealing with in our industry
yeah,
every single day. So
yeah, yeah. It's a great topic, and yeah, I think it really warrants some attention, especially in light of, the changing of demographics, and thinking about such a large group that's going to need more care as time goes on. And it's been great to have you on and to hear a little bit about this. And I really enjoyed it. And I hope that people, will think about, how do I implement, some of this in my practice, make sure my people are trained. I plan on putting some of your contact information in the description of the video when we push it out. So if you're watching this, click down below and you'll find some contact information, and Karen can help you navigate this. But I thank you so much, Karen, for sharing part of your story, and especially the intimate details of your family and being so open about it. I think that's really beneficial for everybody to think about, so that it kind of, comes back home to us and we go, oh my gosh, my mom or dad can be there. I can be there. It's an inevitability in our lives. So to build out the structures that are there for them and for us down the road. So thank you again, Karen. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah,
yes, thank you. And you know what, we're the threads that bind the change, that bind together, that create the change. And without we have so much brilliant technology and brilliant people. And sometimes it's that idea that you think, okay, I can't do this, and you've got to talk about it. And this is
yeah,
probably as far as I've pushed it, thinking that, oh, maybe this is just way too big. But it's just, when I have the conversations, it's really gaining traction and awareness. And it warms my heart to know that people are getting something positive out of it. So yes, I would love for anybody to reach out to me, and, you know, questions and
yeah,
input in helping us grow this in our community. So
yeah. I
thank
think it
you
would
for the
be
time.
a great couple of CEs as well. I'll give you a little nudge there to
Yeah,
maybe throw some
I already have a couple now, but more to
awesome,
come.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time, everybody. Karen
Thanks.
Michaelson, I really appreciate it.